30 minutes, appcast, live stream, as well as over the air on KSAT as the meteorologists discuss incoming Hurricane Beryl and the potential effects it will have on deep South Texas, South Central Texas, and of course the San Antonio area.
We'll be right back.
After 5 to 10 minutes of construction hassle, I'll make it worth it a while.
And to get information on all the deals, just go to jordanford.com.
Good Time Charlie's. Come and enjoy our healthy food choices like ice-cold salads, grilled crispy chicken, delicious vegetable plates, garlic cilantro chicken, and Charlie's special grilled chicken breast with Monterey Jack on a large tossed salad. Our full bar selections and our tasty local craft beers. Thank you, San Antonio, for making us your friend and open since 1979. Good Time Charlie's, Broadway and Mulberry.
Alarm goes off at 5:30, turn on GMSA, and we're all kind of listening to the news, finding out what the weather's like. Gotta wake everyone up, get everybody dressed, pack snacks, make lunch, and the whole time GMSA's on. Definitely helps me plan my day better. I think it's just the kind of connection everybody has with each other. Everybody's very San Antonio.
From watching all of your news videos, I was like, should I work at KSAT News?
You feel like you're home when you're watching KSAT.
I like everyone in KSAT News.
Good answer.
Take advantage of Will Fix-It's 83 or It's Free mainline drain clearing special. If the trusted professionals at Will Fix-It can't clear it, you don't pay for it.
Call 333-3300. Let Will Fix It.
San Antonio Pets Alive is waiving adoption fees when you donate to its medical care program this weekend. This is part of their Red, White, and Rescued event.
From July 5th to 7th, San Antonio Pets Alive will have more than 900 animals available to be adopted. There are 3 different adoption centers you can visit. Just head to KSAT.com to learn more. All right, one quick last look at the forecast. Whoa. 7-day. We were going to throw it up there, but it's just there it is. We have a chance for some showers and storms coming up with Beryl. Monday and Tuesday, chance Saturday, of course, with that weak frontal boundary we were talking about. But all eyes are on Beryl. And joining me now, meteorologist Montgomery, as promised. We are going to stick with you for another 30 minutes. We're also streaming live on our app to talk about the tropics.
Talk about the tropics. 'Tis this season, right? And yeah, all eyes are going to be on Beryl. They've been on Beryl for the past several days. Yes. This storm has really impacted a lot of different areas throughout the Caribbean.
Pretty epic.
Now it's in the Yucatan. Justin talked about it earlier, down to a tropical storm,
right.
Which that's what happens when you have these storms. They interact with land masses. They're not able to fuel off of the warm waters of either the Caribbean, the Atlantic, the Gulf of Mexico. So it is weakening, but after it reemerges into the Gulf, really throughout the day tomorrow, it's going to take more of that northward turn. That's what it's looking like right now, and could potentially intensify yet again.
You're right. And so our goal with doing this today, by the way, is so that you can kind of ask questions if you'd like. You can do that via YouTube. We'll field some questions if you want to ask us about the tropical system, what you're thinking, what you're worried about. Also, we'll go into more details about Beryl. And then also, we're awaiting a press conference with Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and also Nemked, who will talk about the emergency response that Texas is preparing for should this hurricane intensify or cause major issues. So these are all things we're looking at And I know we've been talking about Beryl a lot, but it's one of those things where we don't get hurricanes all that often here in Texas. And it's something that I know we have a lot of people have friends and family down along the coast, and they want details and they want to know. And it's taken us some time to really hone in on this thing because tropical systems are fickle.
That's just the name of the game. You know, the steering currents, just how all of the different parameters that these storms feed off of come together at the same time. So many different aspects go into making a tropical forecast, and they can change. What we've been talking about, I feel like, over the past several days is we need Beryl to, A, interact with the Yucatan, which is what it's doing right now. We've already seen it weaken, which was anticipated, but we need to see, one, the state that it's in once it gets into the Gulf again later tonight and tomorrow, and also exactly where that happens. Because then the National Hurricane Center, their hurricane hunters are going to be able to fly into that system. They're going to be able to get better data, and then that's going to be fed into all of the tropical models, and we're really going to get a good picture, a more well-defined picture of where this particular system is looking to go, especially throughout the day tomorrow.
Yeah, they don't fly into those things for fun. No. It's really is important. They carry a lot of data with them. So I'm going to go ahead and set up some graphics here so we can kind of talk about some of the details that are going into Beryl, and we'll start with just kind of some information here for you. What a northern track would mean. What do we mean by northern track? Well, we mean that this thing is going to take more of a curve to the north. And what that means for us locally is that we could see some times of gusty winds, some larger rainfall gradient, and that basically means some people may not get any rain, others may get quite a bit. We're not looking for hail. This is not one of those events where you're going to see severe weather, but a lot of times with the spin that's already there with these tropical systems, you can get isolated little spin-ups, weak tornadoes that can sometimes do some damage, so we need to point that out as well. Yeah,
absolutely. And once again, we are also live streaming on our YouTube page, and I'm seeing a couple of questions already come in. If you have a question that you would like us to specifically answer, feel free to drop that in the comments of that YouTube channel and that stream. One of the questions was, what are we expecting for San Antonio in terms of winds, tornadoes, how much rain? So as Justin just mentioned, if we see that storm take more of a northward track, which it is certainly possible, we may be dealing with some gusty winds upwards of 50 to even 60 miles per hour, depending on where the center goes. Now, that really would be centered on Monday. I think if we were going to see any of that, it's not going to be that high for all of the region, but it is definitely something that comes with monitoring either a tropical storm as it starts to work its way farther inland after it makes landfall. In terms of tornadoes, as Justin also mentioned, an isolated quick spin up or two, especially east of the center, will be possible. The thing about the structure of these particular storms is the far west side, you're not going to see a whole lot. That's why that large rain gradient will be possible from west to east. But on the east side of the center, that's typically where you find more widespread rainfall. So if this thing tracks right up through our area, we are going to have, unfortunately, a large rainfall gradient where the far eastern reaches of our viewing area could see multi-inch totals. We may need to monitor for a few flooding issues here and there, depending on how it all pans out. But unfortunately, on the flip side of that, that means for areas out near the Rio Grande, Del Rio, Eagle Pass, areas that are drought-stricken, may not get a whole lot of rain. So that's where monitoring exactly where this system goes really comes into play for us here in San Antonio.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And this is the latest track from the Hurricane Center, so this is new. I mean, this came in at 1 p.m. today. And so we still have that, what we call cone of uncertainty, so it's within this path. And by the way, the Hurricane Center's got pretty good at this. Most of the time, you're going to find that this is going to track somewhere within this region. But if we're really kind of going deeper with this and looking really closely at the models, they've all been hinting at this thing kind of pulling east just a little bit. And this is where it gets tricky because not only, as Mia talked about, does it set up that rainfall gradient, but you notice the curve of the coast here. Well, as this system makes more of a curve, it could leave it out over the water a little bit longer. And you look at the water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico, I mean, it's pretty incredible. And these numbers are really, really warm. It's hot down there. The water temperatures are hot. So that could allow this thing to intensify a little bit further. Hurricane Center thinks it's stage category 1, although they've put in the caveat, if you read their discussion, that there is the potential it could creep up a little bit higher. And we've seen that happen before. That happened with Harvey. we have historical precedent to say that we need to watch that. And I would say anyone between Brownsville and Corpus Christi, even all the way up to Port A, and you know what? They've even extended this out towards Houston. So I would say even Corpus Christi over towards Houston, let's watch it. Let's be careful. Let's make plans. That's not to say that people are evacuating or anything like that. Those calls have not come in, and it doesn't mean that they will. But you want to pay close attention to your local authorities. They'll put out these kind of this kind of information. And we are, again, tracking Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. He's talking right now, and I guess we can go ahead and dip into that and see what he's talking about as far as what Texas is doing to prepare and what the emergency managers are doing. Let's listen in.
Or the least amount of rain and a lesser storm, but you want to be in position of wherever you're going to be by Monday. Remember, seldom does wind cause death in a hurricane. It's flooding. That's the most dangerous position for someone trying to drive in flooded waters on flooded roads. I've just finished a briefing, a very deep briefing with our Emergency Management Council of the state, all over the state, and our local mayors and judges have been in touch with the chief for the last couple of days, and they are preparing. So once again, we hope and we pray for nothing more than a rain event, although that will still be heavy rain in some areas, flooding in some areas, pretty much for sure. But we're going to have to be patient, not preparing, and you should not be patient preparing, but we're going to have to see this storm move off of the peninsula, off the land, and into the Gulf of Mexico. And once that does, in the next 15 to 20 hours or so, it's a very slow-moving storm, about 6 miles per hour, very slow-moving storm. Once it moves into the water, the storm will tell us more of where it's heading, and we'll know to be able to pinpoint it much more than we can today. But right now, if you're along the coast from Brownsville to the Louisiana border, pay attention to this storm, because you have about 2 days, the rest of today and tomorrow and some of Sunday, to prepare when it hits on Monday. With that, I'd like to turn it over to the chief of the Texas Division of Emergency Management, who is the best in the country and has been down this road many times, and I have been down this road many times with Governor Abbott as well, of the storms we've had. I'll turn it over to Nim Kidd to give you a briefing, and then we can take questions at the end.
Thank you, Governor. You know, our thoughts and prayers are with those that are already in Beryl's path and those that have lost loved ones, but our actions are right here in Texas. Life safety is our #1 priority. We will make sure the state agencies and resources are available to support all of our local government partners. We have been in contact, and I've texted every one of the county judges along the coast from Brownsville, Cameron County, all the way up to Matagorda County. Our goal is to make sure that they have every resource that they need from the state in order to be able to warn and protect their communities. The next thing we really need is a prepared community. And as Governor Patrick said, a lot of people are out having fun right now, and that's a good thing. And we want them to continue to do that. But we also want them to prepare. We need a prepared community, not a panicked community. Right. As the governor mentioned, we really won't know for several more hours of exactly where landfall may be, but we have high confidence that this system is coming somewhere to Texas. With that, we would ask that people take the time to make sure that their vehicles are fueled, make sure that they have food and water, and that they've taken care of their pets, check on their family members, and take the time now to prepare so that whenever this thing is making landfall, you're already where you need to be.
And for the folks who aren't on the coast or don't live near the coast, even up as far as San Antonio, New Braunfels, Waco, maybe even in 5 or 6 days at Texarkana, there could be heavy rain. And heavy rain could be 8 inches, could be 10 inches, could be 12 inches or more, and could be flooding. Because, again, this is a slow-moving storm, and hurricanes and tropical storms drop a lot of rain in a short period of time, and the longer that storm is over the area, the more rain it drops. So I think with confidence we can say there will be flooding.
Yes,
we just can't pinpoint it yet, but do not relax. Sit back and say, well, that's going to hit the coast, and I'm fine if you're a few counties inland, because this storm could bring a lot of rain. I also want to mention, if you're along the coast, again, if you have family and friends that are vacationing on the coast, text them, make sure they pay attention, but tell them about the rip currents. You always hear about it, but the rip currents are going to be really bad. we've already had some incidences with rip currents already, but the rip currents, when this storm starts moving our way in another 48 hours, will only get worse. And it will be pretty dangerous to be in the water once you get to Sunday, or even now and tomorrow. They're just strong.
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
Governor, you mentioned, of course, it's a holiday weekend.
Yes.
Just to emphasize the point, how are travel conditions looking?
Okay, that was Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and Nim Kidd, who runs the emergency management there for Texas, and they had some great insight about being prepared, not panicking, but being prepared as Hurricane Beryl makes its way towards Texas. And yes, they're right. It's almost guaranteed that we will have landfall somewhere in Texas. But there still are some questions, and they talked about the flooding aspect and all that. We're going to get into all of this, but we got to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we'll talk much more about how we think Beryl will impact San Antonio and kind of what questions do we have, what storm surge, where we should be concerned about that, and those sort of things. If we want to go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be right back with you. We'll stay streaming on the app as well.
Now is no time for discomfort. Now is no time for the unexpected. It's Gettle time. Gettle's quick response AC, heating, and plumbing experts are there every time in the nick of time to service your home systems. If it breaks today, we're there to fix it. Gettle. We do things the right way, not the easy way.
Dear Texas, we've got something super sweet you just have to try. Sugar Rush Dream Melons. Sugar. These melons are the sweetest around. Only at H-E-B. To Texas with love.
Hi, Jesse Palmer with important July 4th news from Rooms to Go. Lucky you. You have the long weekend to celebrate and shop the Rooms to Go July 4th sale. The best time to buy stylish furniture at amazing July 4th sale prices. And get this, bonus coupons for extra savings good through Monday. Plus, we offer 50-month interest-free financing, so buying's even easier. It's all yours. Great sale prices, bonus coupons, interest-free financing. Now through Monday, only at Rooms to Go.
When was the last time you ate at Good Time Charlie's? Come and enjoy our tasty burger and onion rings, our fried catfish, and our delicious 3-year award-winning chicken fried steak, covered with our daily made-from-scratch gravy. Good Time Charlie's, San Antonio's favorite for more than 40 years of hot, fresh, home-style meals at family-friendly prices, 7 days a week. Thank you, San Antonio, for making us your friend for more than 40 years. Good Time Charlie's, Broadway and Mulberry.
Our 4th of July sale was extended this week only. It's free installation plus 0% APR for 36 months. Visit westshorehome.com/full-bath to save big.
Title Max got your money, your real money.
Get started at TitleMax.com and turn your title into cash. Get up to $10,000 today using your car title. Most credit types accepted.
I got $2,500 with my car title from
to the Gulf of Mexico. So this is the latest kind of suite of what we call spaghetti plots here, depicting where this particular system could go. And this is something that we're going to be keeping eyes on again over the next several days. Now, I believe we're having everybody on air jump back in. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. We are also streaming on our YouTube page, as well as your KSAT Weather Authority app. Our YouTube page is also where some folks have been asking questions. Justin, I did see a question come in a little bit earlier, specifically talking about somebody who wanted to take a flight Sunday morning to Houston and then to St. Louis afterwards. They were asking if they were going to be okay. As of right now, Sunday morning flight shouldn't really be an issue out of San Antonio.
No, I think it'll be fine. I don't think you'll have an issue Sunday. It probably, if we were to have an issue, and that's a big if, we'd be talking more Monday into maybe Tuesday.
Exactly. So that's the latest timeline that we were kind of looking at here. Really, later on Sunday is when this system is expected to approach the Gulf Coast, closer to Texas. So again, Corpus Christi down to Brownsville, this is really going to be an area that we monitor very closely. Here's where Beryl is right now after it made landfall near Tulum, I believe, and it's just weakening as it interacts with that landmass in the Yucatan Peninsula. Later on tonight and this weekend, that's when it reemerges into the Gulf of Mexico and starts to take more of that northward track. We've got an area of high pressure that's sitting over the deep south right now, and the upper level steering currents is what's helping steer that storm farther up to the north. Here's a look at wave heights. You can see closer to about 10 feet, according to this legend, near Cancun, Cozumel, along the Yucatan Peninsula. This is also going to be something that we monitor through the Gulf of Mexico after Beryl reemerges off of the Yucatan Peninsula there. But as we were also mentioning earlier, the waters in the Gulf of Mexico are very warm. I actually went down to Port A last weekend, and I mean, you could feel how warm those waters are. So yes, while Beryl is a tropical storm right now, after it does move into the Gulf, those warm water temperatures, here we go, check this out, mid-80s right now. I mean, that's just bathtub water right there.
I saw some reports, Sarah, on the coast of 90.
90 degrees, exactly. Yeah. So once this system moves over the Gulf of Mexico, that wind shear starts to come down just a little bit, and it's just feeding off of these mid-80, potentially even 90-degree water temperatures. That's what could help it maybe intensify back into a Category 1 hurricane before making landfall somewhere along the Texas coastline. So there still is a little bit of uncertainty, especially where it's going to go after it makes landfall, where exactly it's going to track. Again, we were also mentioning this earlier. Once we see Beryl move into the Gulf, that's when hurricane hunters are going to be able to fly into that storm, get better data to feed into our tropical forecast models, and we're really going to start to get a good, solid picture of where that could go. If it does track farther north, though, which is what it is looking like with the current forecast cone, this is what's going to be really important for us here in San Antonio and across south central Texas. A more northern track would mean some times of gusty winds, not completely out of the question that some parts of our area, especially east of I-35, could see some wind gusts upwards of 50 to 60 miles per hour as this storm weakens moving inland. A larger rainfall gradient. This is going to be one of the bigger things that we'll need to keep tabs on specifically for our neck of the woods, because really along the center and east of the storm, and right now that's looking like I-35 and pointing farther east, that's where we could see the heavier rainfall, multi-inch totals not completely off the table, and we'll also need to monitor for some flooding issues if that happens. But unfortunately, on the flip side of things, out west, closer to the Rio Grande, the latest drought monitor that came in yesterday still shows extreme drought for places like Del Rio, parts of Kinney County. That means not a ton of rain. So a large gradient from one side of the area to the other certainly will be possible. No hail associated with this. We're not looking at big supercells or anything like that that would give us some hail, but an isolated spin up or two would be possible, especially east of the center of that system. So that's why we need to monitor the track so closely, because 20 miles to the west or 20 miles to the east, Justin, could definitely change things on a pretty big scale for us locally.
Yeah, and there's a drought monitor, and I wish we could tell you those places that are looking at extreme drought, they were going to get a ton of rain, but it's not. It's trending away from that, and I'm sorry to say that it's looking like those east of I-35 are going to see the biggest rainfall totals. We're going to talk rainfall, and a lot of people are asking specifically about San Antonio, but we got to get another break in real quick. So we'll go ahead and take that, and we'll be right back with you here on KSAT 12 talking about Hurricane Beryl. Okay, and if you're watching with us on the stream, we're going to stick with you. And we mentioned we wanted to talk rainfall. And I specifically, look at this. This just updated me, and this makes so much sense.
It really, that's exactly what we were just talking about.
Yes, so look at the gradient that exists here. And this, again, this is over the next 5 days, but really we're talking about Monday and Tuesday here. And this is what makes it so tricky, is that line between the haves and haves not is going to come right down through San Antonio. I mean, we are going to be right on the dividing line. And the reason for that is the path takes it right just east of San Antonio. If you look at a lot of the models, So that would take all the high totals, the high rainfall totals, and basically push them east. If you're watching us from, say, Gonzales, if you're watching us from Cuero, Goliad, Victoria, these are places that could see multiple inches of rain. 2 to 4 inches, maybe 5, 6, 7 inches in some cases. These are tropical rainfall totals. You go west of San Antonio, you may see nothing. And I literally mean nothing. And it's so frustrating because those are the drought-stricken areas. We saw this, if you remember with Harvey, back in 2017, we saw this almost exact scenario where there was a ton of rain. You remember Houston got completely whopped. Now, this is not that because this storm system is going to move. Harvey didn't move. But initially, this was kind of how the structure looked when we were talking rainfall. That San Antonio did not get much. Our eastern counties got a lot. Places like Hallettsville dealt with flooding. And I think this is a situation where that could play out again. Now, what we have working for us in our favor when it comes to just extreme flash flooding is that this storm system is going to be moving. It's not going to sit there. We think that in some cases, this could be over by Monday night when it comes to rainfall. But specifically for San Antonio, and we all want our lawns to be nice and green, and we need to fill up our lakes and rivers. I don't know that with the current path that this thing is on, that's going to be the case. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we want to prepare everybody for the fact that we may not get a ton of rain here in San Antonio. If the path were to switch just 20, 50 miles to the west, that could change. That could change. So that's kind of what we're thinking, at least right now. And we're going to be tracking this all weekend long. We're going to have crews out and about. And I know that folks, as I said, have interest there in Port A and Rockport. That's an area that could take it on the chin with this one. And it wasn't that way at first, but with the new trends with this system, that's kind of the way it's looking. And folks in Houston, too, they may see more rain than initially thought when it comes to how this thing's going to track. Okay, let's regroup a little bit here. We're going to come back on TV. And welcome back to those who are joining us on KSAT 12. We're also streaming. And we're taking a live look at Cancun. Things are starting to settle down there. The worst is kind of passing. I'll tell you, Cancun kind of took a glancing blow. This was a little bit further south of Cancun towards Playa del Carmen and Tulum, popular vacation spots. But Cancun, I don't think, had too much damage. You can actually see all those umbrellas there along the beach are still intact, which makes you think maybe the winds and the waves weren't too bad. We hope that anyway. But we were just discussing, for folks who are streaming with us, the rainfall forecast, and this is just updated. And it is going to be pretty extreme, the difference between the rainfall numbers out west and the rainfall numbers off to the east. There is going to be a dividing line right over San Antonio, and we could see some pretty big numbers in our eastern counties and maybe nothing at all, and I mean nothing, for our western counties. So this is one of those situations. It's really tricky to forecast because the path is going to dictate everything here. And let's pull up the path one more time, Mia. This is from the Hurricane Center that they just put out at 1 o'clock, so just about 20 minutes ago. And it's, again, a tropical storm right now, stays that way. Still probably dealing with some shear over the Gulf of Mexico, but then it'll get its act together once again. We think it's a Category 1 storm, and if it stays out over the open water a little bit longer, could be stronger than that. We have historical precedent that tells us that's a possibility. Right now, the Hurricane Center has it estimated at winds of 85 miles per hour. We'll see if it goes any stronger than that, and then eventually working its way north. You know, the cone of uncertainty still has places like Del Rio in it, but my gut tells me that the bulk of the activity is going to be east of I-35.
Right, and again, timing is a big thing of this too. We've had some folks email in over the past couple of days concerned about the rainfall, like, oh, are we going to get all of these inches of rain within a span of 12 hours or 24 hours? And while, yes, I think that the biggest day that we're going to need to monitor for, you know, maybe some gusty winds and one of the better chances for rain is going to be throughout the day on Monday. if we see some tropical moisture stick around even into Tuesday, this is kind of spread out, and it's not going to be nearly as much rain as what some of those more historic storms have provided. Like, we're talking 20+ inches. No, nothing like that here locally. But, the time frame, I think that we're really going to need to monitor for the initial impacts, whether that be rain and gusty winds. Do the gusty winds kind of trend farther east with this? That's going to be throughout the day on Monday. I know this particular cone here issued from the National Hurricane Center kind of keeps it in the Tuesday and Wednesday timeframe closer to south central Texas. As we were discussing earlier, it's possible that we're done with the bulk of the impacts, though, by Monday night.
Yeah, I think you're right. So that's kind of where we disagree with Hurricane Center, which they've done a fantastic job forecasting this, don't get me wrong, but I just think the timeline is probably going to speed up a little bit. A lot of times when these storms boomerang like this, where they get pulled up to the north, they accelerate. And that can do a couple of things. That can also increase the storm surge, because you get the forward motion of this storm going, and it's going in a more northerly fashion. That can push that water up in a big way up there on the coast. That's why storm surge is something we have to watch closely there on the Texas coast. And then let me say this. For folks in San Antonio, let's not all go to the grocery store and buy bread and water. This
Very
is not,
fair point.
This is
right.
not that situation, okay? Folks along the coast, yes, you do want to take preparations there. As the Lieutenant Governor said, you want to prepare for this. Here in San Antonio, let's not all go get gas or go to the store. This is not, that is not what we need to do. But just make sure you check in with your friends and family there on the coast. And we may see some folks driving up to San Antonio to stay here just to be safe.
Absolutely. And there's a couple things that I want to touch on really quickly, because we've got a few more minutes before we'll probably step aside and get some things ready for the evening newscast. But we are still streaming on YouTube, so if you have any other questions that you would like to jump in and ask very briefly, please go ahead and do that now. And second, if our directors could pull up the QR code. So throughout the weekend, right, because we know tomorrow we're going to get even better data coming in on where exactly Beryl could go as it approaches the Texas Gulf Coast line. We are going to be updating you, yes, on air, but also online in your KSAT Weather Authority app. So if you scanned that QR code that was just up, that will take you online to the page where we have our current thoughts, the current timeline, current thoughts from the National Hurricane Center, and those will be updated as we get more information down from the National Hurricane Center as well.
Absolutely. And we're going to be providing coverage all weekend and into Monday. Again, we don't want to make a bigger deal out of it than it is, because, again, here in San Antonio, I think it's mainly going to be rain, and we may not get that much here in town, but we do need to watch for the threat of flooding for our eastern counties. And as we said, there could be some more significant direct activity for those from, say, Brownsville to Corpus Christi over to Rockport and Port A. So we just want to make sure everyone is kind of on the same page. And we'll certainly be putting out updates, as Mia said. There's the QR code one more time. And what we'll go ahead and do is we'll leave you here and expect Mia to give you an update later today at 5 o'clock, 5 and 6 and 10.
And
you'll
10.
be here.
We'll have more advisories in from the National Hurricane Center at that point, too. And yeah, stay with us this weekend, because we're going to continue to keep you posted on all things Beryl, especially with that track either kind of making or breaking rain chances for us here in the Alamo City.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you joining us today. And we'll, again, see you over the weekend and on Monday as well. Be safe.
Y'all be safe.